2:14 a.m. In a remote outpost deep in the Jordanian desert, near the meeting point of three borders, the cooling arrays of a USAN/TPY system register something impossible. Two radar sensors detect a thermal surge of extreme intensity. 5 seconds later, the horizon flashes white. The $300 million X-band radar, the eyes of America's THAAD defense network, is not merely damaged, it vanishes from the board. A single Iranian Fatah-1 hypersonic missile, which Tehran claims can slip past any shield on the planet, has found the one weak seam in the perimeter. It is more than a technical setback. It is a $300 million message. But inside the combat information centers of the U.S. Fifth Fleet, the response is not panic. The forward eyes in Jordan are gone, but the brain in the Pentagon has already activated the full response network. If Tehran believed removing one radar would leave the U.S. military in the dark, they are about to discover that they have only given a sleeping predator a reason to move. This is how the next 90 minutes unfold. To understand why the Pentagon has shifted the region to DEFCON 3, you first need to understand what an AN/TPY-2 radar really is. It is not just a dish on a truck. It is a massive phased array system, a mobile sensor platform powerful enough to track an object the size of a baseball from around 1,000 miles away. It feeds targeting data to SM-3 and SM-6 interceptors, the same systems that help protect carrier strike groups, major bases, and capital cities. Losing it is like a professional boxer suddenly losing his vision in the middle of a fight. The Iranian plan relied on overload and speed. First, they sent a swarm of 20 low-cost one-way drones to flood the radar's processors with noise. While the system worked to separate real threats from clutter, the Fatah-1 slipped through the upper atmosphere. Its maneuverable re-entry vehicle made a brutal 20G lateral shift, a move the local defense batteries were not positioned to predict in time. The result was immediate. For a short, dangerous window of roughly 15 minutes, a corridor of airspace over the Persian Gulf became exposed. The information advantage the U.S. depends on in the Middle East had been shaken, but that window was already closing. Commander Sarah Jenkins, the tactical action officer aboard the USS Arleigh Burke, does not wait for a satellite confirmation of the debris field. She is watching the Link 16 data stream from a nearby E-2D Hawkeye. The aircraft has already detected the thermal bloom from the Fatah-1 launch area in western Iran. The response chain has its first link. Within 180 seconds of the radar going offline, the integrated warfare machine is fully awake. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, cruising in the northern Arabian Sea, turns into the wind. The deck comes alive. Yellow shirts move across the flight deck in a blur. 4 EA-18G Growlers, the most advanced electronic warfare aircraft in the world, are first off the catapults. Their mission is the Shroud. Each Growler carries ALQ-218 tactical jamming systems. As they cross toward the Iranian coastline, they do not simply interfere with enemy radar. They rewrite the picture. Iranian air defense operators near Bandar Abbas stare at their screens and see calm, empty skies. It is an illusion. The Growlers are feeding their systems a ghost loop, making the batteries believe everything is normal while a wave of American aircraft is already 50 miles inland. Behind the Growlers come the F-35C Lightning IIs. Each jet carries a pair of AGM-158 CLR ASMs and AGM-154 JSOW glide munitions, flying low, quiet, and almost invisible to the systems meant to find them. This is not a dogfight. The F-35s are not acting like traditional fighters. They are moving as information hubs. They are not even relying on their own radars to locate the targets. Instead, they are seeing the battlefield through the infrared sensors of a KH-11 reconnaissance satellite orbiting 500 miles above them. The Iranian launch site that fired the Fatah-1 is now covered by invisible laser designators. On the ground, the Iranian crews are still celebrating what they believe was a victory in Jordan. They have no idea that 12 stealth aircraft are already deciding which hardened bunker becomes the first target. But while everyone is watching the skies, the most serious part of the response is moving far below the surface of the Gulf. The USS Florida, an Ohio-class guided missile submarine, has received a flash priority message. The Florida is not built for show. It is built for volume, range, and precision. On board are 154 BGM-109 Tomahawk land attack missiles. Inside the control room, the mood is controlled and exact. No shouting, no chaos. Only the steady sound of keyboards, quiet commands, and trained operators moving through the checklist. Tubes 1 through 20 are assigned their target set, an IRGC command and control facility near Isfahan. Time on target, 3:30 a.m. The commander gives the order. One by one, the vertical launch tubes open. the BGM-109 Tomahawks rise through the surface, their boosters lighting the night with a sound that carries for miles. These are not simple weapons. They are $2 million autonomous strike systems, built to fly low, think fast, and stay difficult to track. After launch, they drop to roughly 50 feet above the waves, skimming the surface and following the shape of the terrain. They are not flying in a straight line. They are navigating by GPS and digital scene matching, adjusting their routes through valleys, ridgelines, and gaps in the landscape. Iran may have targeted a fixed radar site, but now it is facing 154 independently guided systems, each assigned to a specific point, each capable of reaching a precise location from nearly 1,000 miles away. By 3:15 a.m., Iran's integrated air defense network begins to understand that something is wrong. Operators try to track the incoming Tomahawk wave using a Russian-made S-400 radar. That decision exposes them. The moment the S-400 emits, it becomes visible in the electromagnetic spectrum. High above, an F-16CJ Wild Weasel picks up the signature instantly. The pilot confirms the frequency, releases an AGM-88 harm, and the radar site becomes the next target. The AGM-88 is designed for one purpose: to follow radar emissions. It does not need a perfect visual picture. It locks onto the signal itself and races toward the source at Mach 2.8, more than 2,100 miles per hour. Minutes later, the S-400 radar station in southern Iran is taken off the network in a burst of metal, smoke, and shock. One by one, the sensors guiding Iran's defense system begin to disappear from the battle space. This is where the argument about military balance is answered in real time. Iran has fast missiles, but the United States has the stronger network. Speed matters, but awareness matters more. And when every radar activation risks revealing its own position, the entire defense system starts to hesitate. At 3:30 a.m., exactly on schedule, the first wave of BGM-109 Tomahawks reaches Isfahan. But they do not strike the city. They strike the nerves. The targets are the hardened underground facilities of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This time, the U.S. is not relying on ordinary payloads. It is using bunker buster variants, GBU-31JDAMs, fitted with BLU-109 penetrator packages, built to punch through layers of reinforced protection before delivering their effect. The first BGM-109 Tomahawk reaches the power substation, and in an instant, the entire military district falls into darkness. The next wave goes after the communication towers. Within 10 minutes, IRGC leadership in Isfahan is separated from its field units. Orders stop moving. Radios go silent. Commanders are left speaking into channels that no longer answer, while the ground around their facilities begins to tremble. This is the cold math of efficiency. For every $300 million radar Iran managed to take off the board, the U.S. is now methodically removing billions of dollars worth of Iranian military infrastructure from the equation. What Tehran meant as a bold signal is rapidly turning into a strategic loss it cannot easily absorb. Inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Arleigh Burke, battle damage assessment rolls across the screens in real time. Satellite feeds confirm 42 hardened targets neutralized. Iran's high-risk move has led to the collapse of its western air defense sector. They expected a proportional answer, a few missiles in exchange for one radar. They did not expect the full combination. The U.S. has now moved a second carrier strike group, the USS Abraham Lincoln, into the Gulf of Oman. More than 130 American combat aircraft are airborne at the same time. This is no longer a simple exchange. This is overwhelming suppression. From the Lincoln, waves of F/A-18E Super Hornets are assigned to Iranian fast boat bases. They are not using the most expensive long-range systems for this part of the mission. They are using the AGM-179J AGM, a $250,000 precision weapon that works like a sniper from the sky. Its multi-mode seeker can track a moving vessel in rough water and guide itself to the exact point selected by the operator. One base after another goes silent. The Iranian Navy, which had been preparing to pressure the Strait of Hormuz, now finds itself pinned inside its own ports. Every time a hangar door opens at a naval facility, an MQ-9 Reaper circling at 25,000 feet has the picture, the coordinates, and the timing. A GBU-49 paveway, guided munition drops cleanly through the roof. The message is becoming impossible to miss. Iran's Fatah 1 was a single silver bullet. The U.S. military is an entire precision machine. While Tehran used one rare asset to score one dramatic hit, the American system is already replacing parts, repositioning forces, refueling aircraft, and continuing the pressure without slowing down. The logistics chain stretching from Norfolk to San Diego is already moving replacement components for the radar site in Jordan. At the same time, Iranian production hubs connected to missile assembly are being taken offline one by one. As the sun begins to rise over the Zagros Mountains, the final act arrives. But it is not another munition, it is a message. A B-2 Spirit stealth bomber flying nonstop from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri appears on no Iranian radar. It is holding position high above Tehran at 50,000 feet. It does not release a payload. Instead, it marks the presidential palace with a non-lethal, high-intensity laser designator, a digital finger on the forehead of the leadership. At the same moment, every phone inside the IRGC command structure receives the same alert. Attached is a high-resolution satellite image of the Fatah 1 launch crew from 4 hours earlier, now fully neutralized in their position. Under the image is one short sentence in Farsi. "We saw the launch, we saw the celebration, we saw the aftermath. Do not make the next move." That is not just a warning, that is information dominance. The US is not simply proving it can reach targets. It is proving that it controlled the entire battle spec from the moment the first Iranian operator touched the launch controls. The loss of the $300 million radar in Jordan was not the victory Tehran thought it was. It was a stress test, and the US answered it with overwhelming precision. The result of the 90-minute confrontation is a cold map of consequences. A GM-88 HARM systems took 12 radar stations off the board. BGM-109 Tomahawks brought down 4 major communication hubs. GBU-31J DAM penetrators removed 2 hypersonic launch facilities from operation, while 1 elite IRGC command formation was effectively cut off from leadership. Iran's estimated losses now rise beyond $4 billion in equipment, facilities, and decades of hardened bunker construction. The U.S. cost 1 radar system and the fuel for the sorties. In the language of the Aegis combat system, this was not chaos. It was a high-efficiency cleanup. The U.S. Fifth Fleet has now demonstrated that the response network is not a single line that can be broken. It is a web. Break one strand, and the entire system vibrates. Every sensor, every aircraft, every ship, and every satellite begins working together to trace the source. The Jordan radar has not only been replaced, 2 more systems have been moved into position, protected by a dedicated battery of SM-3 Block 2A interceptors. These interceptors are designed to engage advanced threats in the mid-course phase, meeting them far above the battlefield, where speed, math, and timing decide everything. The gap in the fence is no longer open, it is now reinforced. But behind the numbers, the aircraft, and the technology, there is a human reality. The tactical action officer aboard the USS Arleigh Burke. The pilots inside the F-35s. The technicians in Jordan who made it through the first impact. They are the reason the system worked. This is the real advantage of the U.S. military. Professional autonomy under pressure. When the radar went offline, there was no command vacuum. No hesitation, no confusion. Every sailor, pilot, and operator already knew the playbook. They did not wait for a public statement or a political speech. They executed an integrated response that had been rehearsed again and again in simulators, until every step became instinct. For the Iranian regime, the lesson is difficult to ignore. You can build or acquire a headline-making system like the Fatah 1, but you cannot instantly build a system of systems. You cannot buy 70 years of combat experience, global logistics, real-time coordination, and networked force integration. As the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower turns back toward its patrol route, flight deck crews are already preparing for the next routine exercise. The major operation is over for now, but the shadow remains. The Persian Gulf is quiet, not because the danger has disappeared, but because the danger has just learned what it is facing. Taking out a $300 million radar creates a headline. Removing an entire military sector's eyes, ears, and command links in 90 minutes creates a strategic reality. So the question is simple. Did Iran make one of the biggest mistakes in modern naval history by targeting that THAAD radar? Or has the hypersonic era truly changed the balance even after this overwhelming response? The math is hard to ignore. A $300 million radar was lost. Iran's losses are estimated at more than $4 billion. That is a massive return in strategic pressure. Now we want your tactical take. Does the U.S. need more hardened forward assets, or is the network defense web already enough to keep the balance in place? Share your thoughts in the comments. And for more deep dives into the response networks, advanced defense systems, and the technology shaping the global frontier, subscribe and turn on notifications. We do not just follow the headlines, we decode the machine behind them. Stay sharp, stay informed. We will see you in the next episode.